This evening, first, justice moves closer in the deadly Regent Street gas station explosion as the court prepares to decide whether the accused will face trial in the High Court. Plus, nearly 2 years after a stray bullet claimed the life of 6-year-old Jeremiah Gustave, the man accused of his murder is committed to stand trial. Also, billions in investment and record oil production. Government outlines major gains in mining, petroleum, and local business participation. Meanwhile, cross-border travel between Guyana and Suriname comes to a sudden halt, leaving passengers stranded and authorities race to bring citizens home. And abroad, disturbing allegations in the Republic of Congo. Rights groups accuse elite soldiers of killings as the government pushes back. Those stories and more coming up. Stay with us. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for February 4th, 2026. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, what began as an ordinary day in the heart of Georgetown erupted into deadly chaos, and now the court is moving closer to deciding whether those accused in the Regent Street gas station explosion will face trial in the High Court. The case involving 4 of the 7 accused charged in relation to the deadly gas station explosion in Regent Street, Georgetown, was called earlier today, with March 10th set for the commencement of paper committee proceedings. The magistrate will review all the facts presented and determine whether the case should proceed to the High Court. The matter is being heard before Acting Chief Magistrate Faith Gustave at the Georgetown Magistrates Court. Prosecutors have applied for the case to proceed by paper committal, a process in which written evidence is reviewed instead of witness testimony at the preliminary stage. During today's hearing, Prosecutor Mandel Moore informed the court that statements for one of the accused, taxi driver Johnny Budram, are being translated as he cannot read English. Defense attorneys confirmed the statements of other accused have already been filed. The magistrate noted that the charges related not only to terrorism but also to actions that resulted in the death of a 6-year-old child. 4 accused, Budram, Crystal LaCruz, and Venezuelan national Daniel Alexander Ramirez Pudimo and Alexander Betancourt, are before the court. Authorities have identified Pudimo as the alleged mastermind. The remaining accused are facing separate proceedings in other courts. On a different note, a single gunshot meant for another target shattered a young life, and now, nearly 2 years later, the man accused of killing 6-year-old Jeremiah Gustave will face a judge and jury in the High Court. Oda Garnett, charged with the murder of the 6-year-old, has been committed to stand trial in the Demerara High Court following a ruling on Tuesday at the Georgetown Magistrates Court. Senior Magistrate Fabio Azur ruled that the prosecution had established a sufficient case after all witnesses' testimonies were heard and several exhibits tendered. Sergeant Quincy Lacron prosecuted the matter. Jeremiah was fatally injured by a stray bullet on July 9, 2024, during an alleged dispute involving Garnett and another man along Charles Street, Charlestown, Georgetown. The child was critically wounded and spent months undergoing treatment after being placed on life support at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. However, tragically, he later died on March 29, 2025. Garnett was initially charged with attempted murder, but the charge was upgraded to murder following the child's death. Another suspect was earlier charged, but the Director of Public Prosecutions withdrew the case. Jeremiah's mother, Keisha Gustave, welcomed the decision, expressing hope that justice will be served. Garnett is now awaiting a trial date. Moving on. More than 1,000 small-scale miners have benefited from improved access to land, supported by over $10 billion in government investments in hinterland infrastructure. Minister of Natural Resources Vikram Bharat told the National Assembly on Tuesday. The investments, he said, have improved road safety and accessibility, contributing to growing interest and expansion within the gold mining sector.
Since we took office in 2020 to date, over 1,000 small Guyanese miners have benefited from the access to land and the accessibility to the land through the expenditure of over $10 billion on hinterland infrastructure to ensure that our roadways are safe.
Minister Bharat also highlighted major gains in the petroleum industry, reporting that oil production has surged to over 900,000 barrels per day, an unprecedented milestone for Guyana. He noted that floating production, storage, and offloading vessels are closely monitored by key regulatory agencies, including the EPA, GNBS, GRA, and the Ministry of Natural Resources to ensure transparency and accountability. The minister further pointed to the success of the local content framework, which has enabled more than 1,200 Guyanese businesses to supply goods and services to the oil sector.
Without that legislation, Mr. Speaker, we as Guyanese would have been bystanders. We would have been spectators in our own country. And when we were doing consultation for that bill, Mr. Speaker, many of the critics said that legislation would kill the oil and gas sector. And we said we are going to forge ahead because Guyanese must benefit from the oil and gas sector. And we are seeing the results today. Over $2 billion already brought into our economy because of that simple piece of legislation that we enacted.
Minister Bharat explained that the government will continue investing in infrastructure. He said it will continue to manage sector resources responsibly while expanding economic opportunities for all Guyanese. Stick around when we return. Guyana and Suriname ferry service suspended, passengers stranded, and World Cancer Day 2026, united by unique, a global call for hope, awareness, and compassion.
Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services. 316 Middle Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road, Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. With the MV Kanawama's sudden suspension, cross-border travel between Guyana and Suriname has ground to a halt, leaving dozens of passengers stranded and scrambling for answers on both sides of the river. The MV Kanawama, which operates the ferry service between Guyana and Suriname, has been taken out of service to facilitate emergency repairs, resulting in the complete suspension of passenger and freight transport between the two countries from Wednesday, February 4th until further notice. The Guyana-Suriname Ferry Service Management said remedial works are underway to be completed as quickly as possible and apologized for the disruption. Compounding the situation, the backtrack route to Naikiri has also been closed, leaving travelers with limited alternatives. Guyanese authorities are now working to repatriate citizens stranded in Suriname. Acting Terminal Manager Vanata Prashad said plans are being made to secure tugboats to assist with returning passengers on both Guyana and Suriname ends. However, conflicting accounts have emerged. Some stranded passengers claim they have been left in Suriname since Sunday without clear information or official notice, while Prashad maintains the service was only affected on Tuesday. Official says assessments are ongoing and further updates will be provided as repatriation efforts continue. In other news, today, February 4th, marks World Cancer Day 2026, a day to unite the world in the fight against cancer while recognizing that every patient's journey is unique. being now served under the theme United by Unique, highlighting the reality that while cancer affects millions worldwide, every patient's journey is deeply personal. The theme underscores the importance of people-centered care that recognizes individuals' needs, experiences, and circumstances while uniting communities in the fight against the disease. In Guyana, the day's observance will be culminated in a candlelight vigil at the Guyana Cancer Foundation this evening, bringing together survivors, caregivers, medical professionals, and supporters to honor those. Health officials and advocacy groups are using the day to call for greater access to early detection, timely treatment, and supportive care, particularly in developing countries where outcomes remain uneven. Emphasis is also being placed on prevention through lifestyle changes, regular screening, and public education. Across Guyana and the wider world, survivors, caregivers, and medical professionals and policymakers are standing together to raise awareness and reduce stigma associated with cancer. World Cancer Day serves as a reminder that although each cancer journey is unique, collective action, compassion, and equity can save lives and offer hope. As we mark World Cancer Day, remember that every act of support, every shared story, and every step towards awareness brings hope. And together, united by our differences, we can make a life-saving difference for those affected by cancer. Don't go away after the break. Life in Patari, poverty and survival in Venezuela's largest slum, and U.S. funding cuts sparks fear as U.S. Africa scientists meet in Senegal.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Current smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services. 316 Mill Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world.
Good evening, I'm Dominic Gittins. Tonight, Hong Kong firm C.K. Hutchinson launches legal action after Panama cancelled its canal port contracts. Life grows harder for residents in Venezuela Patari district. Congo denies claims of extrajudicial killings by its presidential guards, and U.S. funding cuts threaten African research. We begin in Panama. Hong Kong conglomerate C.K. Hutchinson has launched international arbitration against Panama after the country's Supreme Court annulled its contract to operate ports on the Panama Canal. China condemned the ruling as unjust, warning of political and economic consequences. The move followed U.S. pressure over alleged Chinese influence. Panama has not responded, while Maersk will temporarily operate the ports. In the Venezuelan capital, the neighborhood of Patari was once a stronghold of support for the nation's socialist governments. But after years of economic mismanagement, residents now rely largely on informal work and personal networks to cope with ongoing hardships. Al Jazeera's Nora Soto reports.
Petare is often described as a city within a city, one of the largest slums in Latin America, dense, self-contained, and largely disconnected from formal urban planning. For many families here, daily routines are organized around shortages as access to water, electricity, and food remains unreliable.
The lack of water affects me a lot. I have grandchildren. I have my children who are studying, and sometimes I can't send them to school because of the lack of water, because their clothes are dirty. Sometimes the water supply has gone up for up to 15 days. Right now, we don't have water because supposedly they're fixing the pipes.
Petare once played a central role in Venezuela's political transformation. where promises of inclusion and empowerment mobilized communities long excluded from power. Today, those political memories coexist with a fragmented reality, as years of economic decline have reshaped expectations and daily priorities. With limited formal employment, the informal economy has become the backbone of the daily survival in Petare, flexible but deeply unstable.
Yo soy ama de casa, como te dije, no trabajo.
I'm a housewife, I don't work. My 2 older children work, but they earn a salary that is not enough. My son works as a motorcycle taxi driver and has to take risks just to survive. And my daughter earns the minimum wage. She's the one who helps me, and it's still not enough. When we go grocery shopping, we realize we have to put things back because we don't have enough money.
Just minutes away, affluent neighborhoods underline the sharp inequality that continues to define Caracas. Here in Petare, the bright colors of these hillside homes only mask a harsh reality. Chronic poverty, lack of opportunity, and a daily struggle that many say has only deepened after decades of economic and political crisis. Nori Soto, Al Jazeera, Caracas.
Rights groups in the Republic of the Congo have accused the Presidential Guard of carrying out dozens of extrajudicial killings. The government says the soldiers were just cracking down on crime and have only killed those violently resisting arrest. Al Jazeera's Malcolm Webb reports.
This man says his nephew was shot dead in the street by soldiers. He was in his 20s. We've hidden their identities for their safety. He says the soldiers from the Republic of Congo's Presidential Guard accused him of being a criminal. It was about 3 months ago. The Presidential Guard says it's been cracking down on violent crime.
I rushed to the scene and saw the child's lifeless body on the ground with 2 bullet wounds, 1 on his forehead and 2 in his chest. His other uncle tried to film, but the Presidential Guard smashed his phone and they told us not to have a funeral for the child or any family gathering.
When the operation started 4 months ago, it was popular with some. Few people in Congo benefit from the country's vast oil wealth. Joining a gang is a way for many boys and young men to survive. Many people in the cities are tired of robberies. Rights groups say this video shows the execution of a young man called Inanga Joseph Emmanuel on the 31st of October by a soldier from the Presidential Guard in the rubble of his parents' house, which they say the soldiers had just bulldozed. The Presidential Guard says it's only killed gang members who have violently resisted arrest. Dozens of videos posted on social media claim to document the crackdown. A group called Action Centre for Development says it's received reports of more than 200 extrajudicial killings and that it's been able to identify 48 victims so far. President Denis Sassou Nguesso, who's ruled the Republic of Congo for 42 of the last 47 years, says the crackdown's helping the victims of violent crime.
I confirm that the pursuit and dismantling of these lawless groups will continue in every nook and cranny until the last bandit is captured. Therefore, I ask the public to resolutely support the efforts of law enforcement in eradicating all these hardened criminals.
The operation began in the capital Brazzaville at the end of September. In November, it moved to the coastal city of Pointe-Noire. In January, Presidential Guard soldiers arrived in the Pool region. Rights groups say they started stealing motorbikes. An old conflict with an armed group there called the Ninjas then reignited. In this video, some of its fighters tell the commander of the Presidential Guard they'll fight to the death. The Ninjas last fought the government following a disputed election in 2017. The Electoral Commission has promised a free and fair poll next month. President Sassou Nguesso's critics say the election will be rigged and the government's trying to intimidate the entire population.
It's instilling fear just a month before the presidential election. You want to protest? No. Also, it's a way for the president to have his personal elite guard deployed in the country.
In this video, soldiers say they killed this man on the roadside because he belonged to the armed group. Republic of Congo's government says it's making the country safer. The elections are due on the 15th of March. Malcolm Webb, Al Jazeera.
U.S. funding cuts threaten African research as scientists and researchers from the United States and Africa meet in Senegal to discuss the future of innovation on the continent. Al Jazeera's Nicholas Haig reports.
This is Modou Ngom, a peanut farmer in Diourbel, and this is his son Bala Ngom, a scientist in Dakar. The first in his family to go to school. He grew up harvesting peanuts with his father, but his father says the boy saw something else in the nut.
I thought peanuts were just peanuts. He talked about powering aeroplanes, even boats.
For the father, peanuts meant survival, just enough to send his son to school. For the son, peanuts meant possibility, a way to power the world. So he went to work, cutting-edge research, turning peanut shells into batteries. At first, the funding came, a grant from the U.S. Department of Defense, the kind most researchers only dream of. Then, a new president arrived at the White House.
I'm a victim of Trump administration because I get a grant that I still not can get till now. Still waiting for more than a year. It's like working towards an objective and you're about to get there, someone stopped you.
At the US-Africa Frontier Symposium in Dakar, where Ngom will be presenting his work to scientists from Africa and the United States, the mood has shifted. Words are chosen carefully, in awareness of Washington, of who might be listening.
Yeah, I think, as I said, there's different impacts being felt by different sectors, and it's hard to generalize.
But it feels like, how can you say that it's hard to generalize when there is a serious cut of funding for research in the U.S.?
As she answers, she removes the microphone. The American organizers decline to speak further. They say this is about science, not politics. But under Donald Trump, science has become political. Since 2025, nearly $3 billion in research funding has been cut or frozen. Public health and vaccine research hit hardest, climate and environmental science in Africa too. At the same time, funding for rare earth minerals is growing.
So much of what's grown here or extracted is processed away from the continent. And yet, peanuts could power batteries, or the cotton grown here, used in the fashion industry, could be used in hospitals here. Or the cocoa that's exported and used in chocolate bars sold in the West could be used to insulate homes to keep them cool here. But the U.S. shift to rare earth minerals means that the research for Africans, by Africans, is stalling.
A son's research, a father's hope, both paused by decision made far from these fields, where a different future was imagined. Nicholas Hawk, Al Jazeera, Diourbel, Central Senegal.
Thanks, Dominique. This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-event forecast. And that's it to V2 Headline News for this Wednesday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. for a rebroadcast and at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other.